Gamers, I'm going to make you a deal. If I can go this whole video without comparing this game to Valheim, you have to subscribe. Deal? Okay. Runescape DragonWilds is a game like Valheim, but... Wait. Shit. RuneScape DragonWilds is the new survival crafting game by Jagex Studios that does not remind me of any other games at all. It is the first new game in the RuneScape franchise since old school RuneScape, I guess? That sounds weird, but technically true. It's here in all of its early access glory, and I'm going to start by talking about the game by itself on its own merits, and then after I will talk about it in the context of being a RuneScape game. So, a band of adventurers who I've never met before decide to set out on an expedition to newly discovered continent Ashenfall. It goes well for about 5 minutes. As soon as they make landfall, they get attacked by dragons. And they all die, except for a couple people. Those few survivors decide to set up a teleporter and to call for reinforcements, and those reinforcements are you. Just you. But, well, I guess you and up to 3 other friends, because this is a co-op game. I don't have any friends who like RuneScape, so I played it by myself, but that is an option. But, like, where's the army? Where are the guards? Do you know how many guards are just constantly patrolling Varrock Palace for no reason? Surely they could spare a couple of them. Although actually, now that I am thinking about it, of the survivors, one of them is a retired old guy, and one of them hangs out in a sewer all day, so maybe you being the best they could get kind of makes sense. Once you've arrived in Ashenfall though, it's time for a quick tutorial where you meet 4 of the remaining expedition members. The wise old man. He actually doesn't really teach you anything, he just tells you to go find the other members. Doric, a grumpy old dwarf who teaches you that food is important. Vanica, a warrior who is bald and teaches you that food is important. And finally, Zanik. She is a cave goblin who... Never mind. Who teaches you about runes and spellcasting, and she's the only useful one. After this brief tutorial, you go talk to the wise old man again, and he gives you your first real mission, build a house. Okay, that's cool, teaches you about the building system, I'll talk about that more in a minute, but not too crazy, good first mission. You talk to him again, and he gives you your second mission, exterminate all of the dragons on Ashenfall. Okay, that's a bit of a step up from building a house, I think, but sure. Luckily, this is broken up into chunks, and the first chunk of which is to go find some dude who is the 5th remaining expedition member who, I guess, survived, and he's gone off to do something. Thus, we have the background for your adventure, and I can now talk about the gameplay. I want to make it clear here, I do like this game. I have a couple pretty major complaints that I am going to talk about, but as a whole, the game is pretty good. I hate hunger meters. I don't know what the first game was to ever implement some kind of survival hunger meter, but I hate it. I hate it for inspiring an entire generation of developers to add this shitty ticking clock mechanic into every game that features exploring anything. It's awful. It's a roadblock early on because, you know, deer are gonna like beat you up, but then it's just a chore later on because food inevitably stacks. So you just have to break up your exploring to go, you know, hunt deer and then just do chores. And I hate doing chores in video games. I play video games to escape doing chores in real life. The only game I can think of off the top of my head with a good food system is Enshrouded, because Enshrouded doesn't punish you for not eating, it rewards you for eating, which is great. But it gets even worse, because DragonWilds has a hunger meter and a thirst meter, so it's double the tedium, which means between every objective, every time you come home, you have to spend half an hour going out, picking berries or hunting or whatever, then going around to all the lakes and collecting old dirty water, and then you have to come home and cook and purify them all, one by one. I hate it. Okay, rant over. This is not a problem that is exclusive to DragonWilds. I just happen to have played a lot of these survival crafting games lately for whatever reason, and the frustration has been growing and growing, and it felt really good to get that out. With my rant over though, let's move on. I like building things, and that's good because RuneScape DragonWilds lets you build things. Lots of things. The building mechanics are similar to some other games that you might be thinking of, but I've never heard of. You have your magical building hammer, which lets you place, rotate blocks of various materials. But where this game in particular excels is the sheer amount of options of, like, materials and aesthetic things that you can choose from. This is my house. It's not great, but I tried. Shut up. I will put some pictures up, though, of people on Reddit who are far more creative than me and took advantage of this system to its fullest. Whereas in most of these games, they have a sort of chosen aesthetic, and you can build, let's say, I'll just, randomly pick a Viking lodge, might be the style of the game, and that's all you kind of have. This game lets you do a lot of different things. It's pretty cool. It is kind of funny though, because despite having a very good building system, usually in these types of games, not naming any in particular, I end up spending more of my time building than I do actually playing the rest of the game. I just kind of get very sidetracked. That was not the case here though, because I wanted to kill dragons. The combat is mid as hell. It's very slow and clunky. If you've played any other survival crafting game, again, not naming any in particular, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's the same, very slow, and then the enemy takes damage a half a second later, that all of these games do. You can attack, block, and dodge as per, and maybe it's just because I've been playing a lot of these lately again. I'm just sick of this. Can one of these games make like a fun combat system? Like, can Platinum Games get it together and come help Jagex make a good combat system? Like, imagine DragonWilds, but instead of the slow, awkward combat, it was just like Bayonetta. And like, I'm just thinking about in my head, with how many like weapons and all the spells, how cool that would be. And I know it's not gonna happen, but I want it to happen so bad. Or at least somebody to make one of these games with good combat. Please. I do understand it's because making good combat systems is hard, and these games are usually made with this very small budget. Finally, we have spells and skills, which I feel I should definitely include in their own little section here. There are like, I don't remember how many exactly, but like 9 different skills, of which only about 5 are implemented. But you gain XP by doing related activities, so you mine rocks, you get mining XP, chop down trees, you get wood cutting XP, and as you level them up, you get minor stat bonuses every level, and then every few levels, you'll get some new, more important unlock, like a new spell or ability related to that skill. Spells are the coolest part of this game, by the way. They're very unique and creative. And they require runes to cast them. Runes, get it? Like, rune skip. This does segue nicely to the elephant in the room, though, which is the RuneScape part of RuneScape DragonWilds. I don't know why this is called RuneScape. I love RuneScape, okay? Specifically old school. I have thousands of hours in that game. Never really played RS3. It's just not my thing, but I just have to ask, why is this game called RuneScape? I mean, obviously, the real answer is to sell more copies, but does it add anything new or interesting to the universe? No. Does it implement core RuneScape features into a new and interesting setting? No. Probably my biggest disappointment with this game in general is that it's kind of a waste of the RuneScape IP. A lot of things that are iconic with RuneScape are in fact very generic fantasy things that it's the sort of tongue-in-cheek writing and the cute polygonal art style that make them iconic. Things like goblins and dragons and terror birds. There are terror birds in this game. But these are all very generic fantasy things. If I took this terror bird and I changed the name to a rad ostrich, it would be like, it's not unique, right? And then they don't use any of the cool original RuneScape stuff, like Tizar, Mauritania, the Crystal Elf Prifdinus. Where is my dad fight, you cowards? Also, I know I'm not the first person to mention this complaint specifically, but how are you gonna have a new RuneScape game with a smithing skill and not let me make rune armor? Come on. It goes bronze, iron, steel, mithril addy, rune dragon. It's first grade, Jagex. And then back to characters. How is Zanuck here? Like, okay, I've never played RS3 again, and so maybe the situation is resolved or completely different in that game, but in old school, Zanuck is currently stuck in an alternate dimension. How is she here? Who is handing out Slayer tasks in the Varrock sewers? Like, okay, the old man was kind of a given, but I feel like for the other 3 members of the expedition, they just sort of pulled names out of a hat as to which characters to include. So, yeah. I feel like RuneScape DragonWilds, the RuneScape is kind of wasted. It is a solid, generic survival crafting game. And that's kind of my thoughts on the whole game. It's well made, but just a bit disappointing. It's not bad, don't get me wrong. If you like this sort of game, you'll probably like this one. And at the end of the day, I did enjoy my time with it. And I will be playing it again in the future, because hopefully they make it more RuneScapey. But that's it for me. My name is Kamikaze. Please subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and let me know your thoughts. Leave a comment, tell me what you thought about RuneScape DragonWilds. And yeah. Goodbye.